This talk is supported by Small PDF, the successful Swiss scale-up making PDF easy for over 1 billion people around the world since 2013. You may remember them from a previous podcast we hosted with their CEO, Dennis Just. Their mission is to make PDFs and life easy for people across the world, a mission made possible with their 90-plus amazing employees across Zurich, Belgrade, and Barcelona. If you want to join this fast-growing Swiss scale-up, visit smallpdf.com/Swisspreneur and apply.
I was the friend who has a logistic company with his wife. How has it been? Has it been good? He's like, no. Like, I cannot recommend it. Don't do it. We still did.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Hanna and Johan, a very well welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you very much.
Be back in Earlycon.
Exactly. You're the co-founders at Soeder, a natural and ethical personal care product manufacturer based here in Zurich in Switzerland. But originally you're both from Sweden. So what first drew you to Switzerland, Hanna? Why did you end up here?
Well, I wanted to take a break after gymnasium in Sweden and went to work voluntarily at a boarding school in the Alps.
Wow.
That's
And for you, Johan, did you also take a break in Switzerland?
No, I took a break in Austria. Yeah. And a good friend of mine said, hey, I need help. Come over to Switzerland. I'm building a brand. And he pulled me over. And I've been here ever since.
Was that already the famous Swiss brand with the bags that we all know called FREITAG?
No, it was another bag brand, which you might know as well. Back then it was called Quest, and now it's called Question.
Is one of the VU co-founders as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We also had
both. I think both of them were part of founding VU as well, so it's the same. Yeah.
We had them on the podcast as well, where they were talking about the early days of Question and then VU, of course. So you, Johan, you actually also then worked at FREITAG, a very famous brand here in Switzerland from 2008 to 2013. What was it to be part of that success story here in Switzerland?
Well, it was a great journey. It was a great journey before I joined, and I think we were 60 people back then. It was a strong brand in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. And it grew a lot. It grew from, I think it was 150 people when I left after 5 years. And the brothers are very inspirational characters, and they introduced me to the cradle-to-cradle principle in business, which was cool. And back then, that was not that present, right? And today, we talk about the circular society, and to see that you can build a successful business on the circular idea was extremely inspiring, and it helps every day. And I'm grateful for this.
Would you say it was also like a great education before you jumped into your own entrepreneurial adventure?
Yeah, better than any school. Yeah,
that's a statement.
So if anyone wants a school, you can call Danny and Marcus. They're good guys. Yeah,
absolutely. Hanna, your personal background, you actually studied and then also worked in architecture until 2017. How do you balance your architectural career with also the launch of Soeder, your own business?
Well, balance is probably not the right word to describe it, because when you have any kind of startup life is just filled with managing all the different aspects of life and of creating a business and of staying alive. Mm-hmm. And then I was a full-time architect at the same time, because that's my passion. And our family was growing during this time as well. So we had many playing fields, but balance in itself was probably not part of the equation. We were just very, very engaged and motivated to get this new baby Soeder running.
I mean, that sounds like there was a lot on your plate at the same time. Did you also have to make any tough compromises where you said, hey, I just have to sleep less, or I cannot meet friends as often as I want to?
This is probably also still a bit a part of our daily life, yes. But the compromise to not do this project that we really wanted to do would have been a bit more tough to endure. And I also think it's kind of based in who you are and what you want to achieve in life. And we wanted all these things at the same time, and then you just have to go with the flow and do it. Otherwise you're not going to achieve what you want to achieve. And in the end, I decided in 2017 to go full working for Soeder and not working for the architecture business anymore. And this was the right decision for me to make, because I felt like I was too split up on too many, what do you say, dancing at too many parties at the same time. Yeah. But up until then, it was totally right. And also it's a very strong educational step in my career to have worked as an architect, as a project leader, and done projects on in a different area than I'm doing today.
Looking back, you worked 4 years in parallel, still being an architect, but also building your own company. Have you ever wished that you focused full-time on Soeder earlier than you actually did?
No. I think it was good for me to have the transition phase. And also, Johan was working full-time with it from our day one, so to say, of the company building. And this was also something we decided, like, that I will nurture the family with the paycheck, and Johan is focusing on the daily business, and then we do the stuff we do together on other times during the day. But this, no, I think it worked very well.
This sounds like a very smart bet, right? Having the stable income, as long as possible, to feed the family, but also taking the bet and actually launching your own company at the same time. That's quite a good setup from the outside perspective. Did it also feel like that it was a smart and a well thought through bet that you took, Johan?
Yeah, it was. I think retrospectively, then if you analyze, I guess we could have done two parts, and maybe it would have been easier on the energy to have more funding. But I think what we also learned is that you do, I wouldn't say everything wrong, but you do a lot of things wrong at the beginning. and I think if you have too much capital, it also hurts a lot. So I think for us it was very good to grow in and learn. And when things were working, then market reacts and you start scaling. And it took a while to figure everything out, and we did a lot of mistakes and we learned a lot. So it was very good. I think if we had a lot of millions to spend back then we probably would have done bad things with them.
And I also wonder, you decided to start your own company. You both had your jobs, your careers going on. Where does that entrepreneurial spirit, that entrepreneurial drive come from that actually motivated you to start your own company?
From my perspective, I think I grew up in a family where my father was always an entrepreneur. He had his own companies. He did some stuff that worked, some stuff that didn't work in smaller scale. And when I was 12 years, I started to work with him. This kind of, you do the accounting, you do a little bit of this.
Right.
And I worked with him for a long time. And when I went to the gymnasium, I started my own business. I was passionate about snowboarding. So then I started my snowboard store parallel to the gymnasium. And I think I always had entrepreneurship in me, like the will to do something. And I realized that through the family situation that it is also possible to do something. I think a lot of people maybe who do not have that opportunity to see that you actually can do what you want to do. It is painful and it takes a lot of energy, but you can. And I think these two aspects help me.
How was that for you, Hanna?
Well, a bit different, but I'm also someone who really needs to do things, and I want to do them my way. And then when I met Johan, who was someone who knew how to do these things, at least that was the feeling I was getting, then I can fully throw myself into a project and work on this, as long as it's when I can follow my own convictions, when I can build up my own set of rules, and I can work creatively within this little space that we made. That just stirs something within me to make more and more and more, and that's maybe the entrepreneurial part of it, because I'm very much not business. I don't put up the business plan. That's where Johan is very strong, and he has all these insights, and I'm more I wouldn't say I'm more the passionate, but I'm very a passionate person who wants to get my creative needs fulfilled. And when the convictions are strong, it's also important to be able to follow them, because otherwise you don't get the satisfaction, or I don't get the satisfaction out of work, and this I can totally fulfill.
Absolutely.
Being my own.
It sounds like a mix between having that in your DNA, in your personality, but also the family background that also shaped you to then become entrepreneurs in the end. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Yes, and
Definitely.
what Johan says, that he knew it's possible, which is very important. I was not maybe always sure it's possible, but when I have someone next to me who says, sure, it's possible, and I believe this person, then yeah, okay, let's do it. So I am very much growing into being an entrepreneur also through Johan.
And you actually touched up on a really important point here, because when you founded Soeder in 2013 together, you're not only business partners, but you're also romantic partners, right? So we also, of course, are interested in how did you become a couple in the first place?
Well, just look at Johan. Is there any more open questions?
Well,
No.
we put it plain and simple, we met and we fell in love, right? And we were both living in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So we met here.
Yes, it's
That's
more the typical way.
Love at first sight.
Yeah, maybe not. But no, but
Almost.
I mean, it's just mutual friend crowds a bit. It's what often the story is, I think.
Wonderful. And then to actually also go one step further and start a company together, that is quite a decision. Was that an easy one for you? Was it very clear for you from the beginning that you said, yeah, absolutely, like there's no better co-founder for me than my romantic partner? Or was that also something that you discussed intensively together?
No, it happened. I think from the first day, we're not people who like to sit down and read a newspaper throughout the whole day. In the morning, it's fine, but so I think we we always did things together. We built, we started to designing tables, concepts, and made stuff at home, and always been doing stuff. And at one point, we came to the situation in life as, hey, let's do something new. And it was then clear and obvious we do this together.
And were you also afraid at a certain point where you said, hey, maybe working and spending that much time together and building a business with all the ups and downs that come with it, that this could have a negative effect on your relationship?
No, not really afraid of it being a negative influence on the relationship. Definitely considerations to how to make it not always be about work, and this is still sometimes it's a topic that you have to like be able to shut off and not work from time to time, but we're getting pretty good at that as well.
I was perhaps interested. I asked, we talked about it. It's like, yeah, could it be a problem? It's like, yeah, I don't know, probably not. And then I asked a friend who has a logistic company with his wife, older than me, so he was close to retirement age. I was like, how has it been? Has it been good? He's like, no. Like, I cannot recommend it. Don't do it.
Well, and you still did it.
We still did. We're like, yeah, thank you for the input. I think, we weighed the input, and it's like, yeah, we are, we are different.
Yeah.
So now it works for us.
No, it still works.
It still works.
It's a very...
And you get closer. I think you share more together, and you of course you constantly work on things. Right? I think this can be frustrating maybe sometimes for co-workers, because if we drive home, we continue to work, right? And
absolutely,
when we cook, we continue to work. And we have an idea. Yeah. What do you think about this? So you kind of constantly work, but you also constantly share. So I think then maybe you can focus. Some people then ask and focus on the negative aspect, but the positive aspect is you share way more, and you get to know each other in a more holistic manner as well, which is nice. And of course, you need to build some rules. It's like, I'm tired, let's focus on reading a book or doing something else.
Let's move this topic till tomorrow when we've slept. But definitely, it's not always easy, but it's also very fruitful. So imagine going on holidays for 2-3 weeks and being on a long road, driving somewhere in Sweden, going to visit another part of the family, and then the brain starts to work. And if I would have to write these ideas down and then work on them in 2 weeks, it would be like, okay, you have put a blocker in, and then we just start ping-ponging. So a lot of things have happened also when we're somewhere totally different than the office. We really don't work in the office only. So it's...
Yeah, so that setup that you have is actually also a huge advantage, because your minds are always at work and you can easily discuss things and move probably much faster than other co-founder pairs that are not spending that much time together.
Yeah, you have direct feedback culture is a topic, right? And in a relationship, the feedback is instant and direct, and this is really cool.
Now, of course, we also want to talk about your beautiful product. So when did you actually first get interested in non-toxic and ethically produced personal care products? What happened there? Was there no good products that you wanted to use yourselves out there that you had to create your own?
Yeah, I think when we started, this focus on natural products was not there in the market. And I don't know, this is probably commonly not so known, but soap is basically, it's almost extinct today in the marketplace. So everything you find is the synthetic detergents, which are made by really big companies like BASF and so on. And there's a big lack of transparency. Back then, at least, there was a big lack of focus on good raw materials and also healthy raw materials. And we saw this. It's like, hey, the natural soap is great, and there is almost non-existing there. And it's a very transparent product. So it's not only chemically interesting as a product, it's also very transparent, because the chemical reaction is made by us as a producer. So we have control of all the raw materials. And this is very, very uncommon in the cosmetic industry. It's a lot of prefabrication of technical raw material, which are mixed. But we are doing chemical reactions. So we can really say, we buy honey from Syrobeland, or now there was a crisis with the bees, so we get it from Tessin. But we have done an extreme control. The same with the oils. We can buy organic oils, and technical raw materials you can't. So we saw this, and we got really passionate about this. And then we tried to raise the bar and the benchmark of what a soap is, because I think that the few soaps still existed and did not meet the requirements. So let's bring it up a level. Let's try to innovate and bring more quality to the product.
And then once you had this initial interest and also the initial idea, you actually then sort of built your MVP. We know MVPs from the software world, but you created your own soap in a garage in Zurich and then sold it at the Christmas market to test the demand, right? Can you elaborate a bit more how you did that and how you also tested the market?
Well, we started cooking in a very small tank. It was 50 or 100 liters.
I was 100.
100 liters. This felt huge, and we had this garage of like roughly 30 square meters where we had 25 kilo canisters and tanks, and we filled every bottle by hand, and it was very rustical, very handmade.
Yeah, and to answer the question, I mean, we did not have a go-to-market strategy.
No.
We had a passion about the concept, how to make the product, how to design the product and chemically, but it kind of ended there, right? And they said, we just need to do this. And then we did this, and of course then we made the first product, we sold the first product, yes. and then we organically grew. And from this, it was a very reactive way of growing. So the market responded to us, and we were just constantly reacting. Okay, we need a bigger tank, we need a bigger factory.
Yeah, it's a bit.
We need to feel a bit faster,
right?
It's also a bit like we have been working a bit naively, maybe, in this whole process of relying on friends and family and contacts and honest discussions and letting people get to know the product without having a big sales force or a big idea of how to expand this to a multi-billionaire project. But the Christmas market was maybe 50 bottles, and it kind of happened to happen at the same time as we had those 50 bottles ready. And then we also started like giving some friends at restaurants and bars like access to the product. And
it was also really good that we did not produce more, because we had some tweaking to do. So there was probably half a year of tweaking, and if we would have gone to market on a bigger way, it would also have not been good. Also from the organization, maybe we had FREITAG was a good school when it comes to see an industrial company, right, doing end consumer product, but we had no experience in the scaling, and we underestimated this a lot as well. Like, to build a factory is different to be in the lab. It's workers, processes, machines break down. How do you repair the machine? The second-hand machine was built in five pieces in total. There is no manual.
If we would have had a demand in the beginning, it would have killed us. And now we could like slowly build it up by not doing no campaigns, no
we never needed to, and we never had the time then, because we were always reacting. So,
but I really like this statement, because it shows that you can go a very far way with the organic growth, and that was essential for you, because then you got the feedback, you adapted the product, you learned how to scale it up instead of just throwing a lot of money at the problem and then failing because you missed an important part. So this probably slower way of growing, but the organic way is a key ingredient to where you are today.
Product. You make a good product. Yeah. If you sell one product, the person who bought it will sell the next one for you. And I think that's, if you do that, everything is then easier. If you fail with the product, it's very difficult, I think, to scale something. So we were lucky. People really then appreciated it, and it just started to rolling from there. I think that's a good advice, I guess. Put a lot of focus on your product.
How was then the feeling? When did you realize that you actually hit the sweet spot, that you had the right product, and that it was now time to scale up and to go bigger?
I don't know if we were probably scared in the beginning as well, partially. It's like, we got a lot of criticism. This is perhaps a good advice. A lot of people told us in the beginning that, you cannot make soap. The ones who bought it and then tested it, they were convinced that they convinced others, but the customer who first saw it and visited us in our small store then on Ankerstrasse, he's like, no, you cannot make soap. And it took maybe half a year to start converting these customers. And first time when we got a bit bigger accepted, then it started to roll. But I think in general, people can be quite skeptical. I
mean, especially here in Switzerland, I also feel that they would sort of tell you more, why it's not working instead of why it's working?
I don't know if it's special to Switzerland, but it was a reluctance, and it took us a while then to overcome this, and then it worked. But
they had every right to be a bit skeptical because we used to sell socks and tables in this store for sustainable goods, and yes, we designed, but we were not producers, and being the producer of our own product was a dream and a goal from the beginning when we started selling. But then when we actually came with the soap and put it in front of the customers and said, so this is now our new field, and go home and try this, and we can explain to you what real soap is, and we can talk about this for hours. And we did, and it's from there it kind of grew into a understanding between us and our direct customers.
And the people, I think soap is a product, like it's a product you use every day, and the people came back. Like when the bottle was empty, they came back, say, this was an experience. I like this experience. Wow. My skin is not dry, and again, then I think if the product is good, then your customer comes back. Yeah.
I love that philosophy. I think that's very, very good advice. Now, let's also talk about the product. So you mentioned before at the beginning you had multiple products that we were basically offering. What are the products that you focus on today? What is Soeder basically from a product choice?
So today it's our main focus is what we can produce ourselves. And then we still have a few accessories to go with it because it's needed, but our focus is our care products. And what we can produce in our factory are processed products like soap and lotions, and bar soaps is also under construction a bit, but it's part of the program. So that's the whole line from developing of the recipe to the distribution to direct sale to customer or hotel or store. That's our focus.
And for you, you're very conscious about the ingredients, but at the same time, it's also very important for you to be able to produce locally. Why is that the case? Why is that an important piece in the whole Soeder concept for you?
Well, in the beginning, going back to this naive start, doing a good product, we wanted to sell it to the people where we were. So that was Zurich. And we are still mainly selling in Switzerland, and Switzerland is our focus market. And some people believe tell us, it's a small market, but it still is 9 million people living in Switzerland. It's a lot of people which are dirty every day. and another thing was the verticality, the control of the product. And through the verticality, we can then also drive innovation. We can control production. We can control quality. We can control supply chain. And this is something now when we have grown a little bit, which becomes extremely important. And now we're pushing hard, and not only to produce and to improve production, but also to innovate. Innovate in raw materials, innovate in transparency. This would not be possible if we did not have it in-house.
That makes a lot of sense. And one important aspect there is also the packaging, of course, of your products. How do you go about that, Hanna?
Well, packaging has always had a very strong position with us because it needs to be something that fits most places. And now I'm talking about the bottle. It needs to be something that can be used for a long time, and it needs to be recyclable at the end of its life cycle, or not end of its life cycle. It needs to go back into a loop. So we very early on decided, I can't even remember if we had any options, but we said it's a glass bottle, and that's still very rare. Most bottles today are plastic. But this we chose because we wanted it to be able to be used for really a lot of usage cycles.
It's an interesting time travel thing. It was very difficult in the beginning. The customers can I have glass in my bathroom? It will break. This was constant.
Wow, interesting.
A lot of scared.
Constant topic. And then it disappeared after a couple of years. But in the beginning, it's like, yes, like we have children. It works. You can have it.
Yes.
And
also then when we didn't introduce it straight away, but we fairly soon introduced that you could refill the product. Since this was part of our concept that you should use the bottle for a long time.
Right.
This was also something that it's hard to imagine, but you had to explain to the customer why this was important and how to do it, and that they had to bring their bottle back to us, and we would fill it up again, and it makes more sense than to throw it in the glass bin and then buy another one. And so this is very important in the packaging. Then we also have the refill system in itself it's a core focus in our company. We also have issues of packaging around, which we are slowly eliminating now because we don't want things to go to waste. But generally, just very long-lived design and quality to make sense in the whole in the life cycle of a product.
This episode is sponsored by Startup Nights 2022. On November 3rd and 4th, you'll have the chance to showcase your startup, get inspired, meet investors, and network with like-minded peers at the 6th annual edition of Startup Nights in Winterthur. Check out startup-nights.ch to learn more and register for the event. Now, these things that you mentioned, like having a circular economy, reusing materials, that makes a lot of sense. People get it these days, because it's super important. But when you actually started out in 2013, what you just explained sounds a bit like you also had to educate people in the market a bit. Was the timing of 2013 when you originally started out, was that a bit too early for people to embark on that trend as we have it today?
Yeah. It took a while, and in the beginning we worked against the market. It felt like, and the customer. It was a lot of explanation, and after 2, 3, 4 years, maybe then it started to change. And today I feel it has completely changed. Absolutely. There's no explanation needed anymore.
Yeah, I mean now that's like a big boost for you, I can imagine, because you have that philosophy so ingrained in your company. But the first 3-4 years, when that's not the case, when you're swimming against the tide, basically, isn't it that hard sometimes to continue and to keep going?
It was. The good thing about those years was that we were almost always at the store. And Johan, you spent many hours talking to customers. I did not work as much in the store during these first years. But the constant conversation, which really it could be an hour sometimes about certain topics, it helped us build this foundation for our own philosophy also. When you have to continuously talk about it, you understand yourself better in the end. And then also
you learn from the customers.
You learn from the customers what they need, and also you build this trust, because we have a huge amount of reoccurring customers that really trust us because we spent so much time talking about these things. And maybe it was not to this specific person, but they also used their network and they talked to their friends. So it paid off to spend time talking about the issue. And nowadays it's almost a bit sad that we don't have to talk about it. I'm happy we don't have to talk about the issue anymore, but it's it's a totally different way of selling also.
One thing that also stood out when our team did the research was that on your website you say, don't follow the rules of a fast-paced market nor its production methods. And now we understand where you come from. At the same time, Johan, before you also mentioned it's so important for you to innovate, to also be close and have a really good product, listen to the customers and adapt and learn. Is that sometimes a tough balance to strike, to say, hey, we take things slower because we also want to have the circular economy and we want to reuse things, etc., versus developing new things that the markets or the customers might need?
I think we did some mistakes, maybe also in between, starting and then continuing and being where we are today. And we learned from these mistakes. So it is the only thing which is important, I think, is to take it slow and to make it different, because there is a lot of big fishes out there, and it's not possible to do what they're doing in the scale they're doing. So I think the only way to be competitive in the market or to attract a customer today is to do things differently and then take the time. I think the TTT is important. Things take time, and you need to let that happen. You need to work towards quality, and if you do it right, then it works. It's not the quantity of things, it's the quality of things. And there we made mistakes in the middle. I think in the beginning we knew this, and then at one point in the middle, the tempo increased, and I think we are now learning and having a bigger team and more possibilities that we need to focus on quality, and we need to focus on innovation as well. And there are things with innovation, things take even longer time. But being successful with output, then it stands alone, and it stands to differ from what's in the market.
So it's really this quality above everything for you to a certain degree.
Yeah, I think it is, and to constantly also try to improve it and not be happy with what we have, or things are constantly changing, and we need to follow the next paradigm, or we need to see the next paradigm before it's happened, and we need to see new opportunities through new technologies and so on as well.
But always based on what is a good product and what is necessary, and not on what's the new fashion.
Right.
We don't produce things for now. We produce things that are going to last. And of course, you use a soap, but we consider the whole process of the usage of the soap, and also the necessity of this product. We don't want to produce things that don't have a purpose, so to say.
And that's perhaps important. I think this was not too common in the past. Now it's getting more common, but we have a value set in the company. So it means every decision we take need to pass through the value set. So if it doesn't, we shouldn't be doing it, right? So there is an extra layer, an extra filter in our company. So this is our value sets, and whatever you do as a person in this company, you need to follow this value set. And I think this then gives this special and right direction of every decision made.
Yeah, you have a very clear guidance in that regard. Do you have an example for a value that is important to you?
Well, it needs to be consumer healthy. It sounds clear, but it means every raw material we use needs to be researched, and we need to see it is not dangerous for the consumer, right? And this is not the case in the cosmetic industry or in the food industry, right?
Which is crazy if you think about it, right?
The legal boundaries is not enough, right? There's things which are legal which is not good to use, and then the same then with the packaging. The raw material needs to be organic. There's a lot of elements also in the company, like recycling is relevant and so on.
And with the setup that you chose, right? Growing organically, growing slower, also differentiating through the best quality in the market and doing things differently, that usually also comes with a higher price, right? And by doing so, you probably also need some funds to actually finance your production and your whole supply chain, basically. How did you tackle that challenge?
Well, we tackled that challenge and the challenge of working together in a very small team. In one step, we in the first year we got 10 friends and family together who could contribute also by way of financing, but also in their knowledge. And we didn't do a big financing round. We got the finance together that we really needed for the first step, and we had the knowledge within our team that we needed for these first years of the startup. And we were not alone in our endeavor. We had this network right away, and that made it it could grow in a very nice, natural, organic way then through this. So of course we had financing, but it was nothing. It was internal. This was also the feeling. It was internal financing and also very engaged financing.
Was it also particularly important to you to have people investing or giving you money who were close to you compared to a traditional VC who might have different values and different ideas about how to do business than you have?
Yeah, extremely clear. We didn't only engage people who invested. Perhaps it's important. Everyone was also participating with work. So we kind of build to visualize them. We build like a football team, right? Mm-hmm. It's like we know our strengths and weaknesses, and we can do certain things, and we are clear we cannot do everything. So we brought together then a group of people who also supported in the beginning, which then also leads to even a lower needs of funding, right? You have a marketing expert and so on. So we had a great team of people we used to work with in the past, which joined. So it was not only important, it was a conscious decision that only people we know and we know what to get. And of course, on the other side, they also know what they were getting from us, right?
Of course, yeah. So it's very aligned. There's no right or wrong, but it's important to be clear about the expectations and the alignment to make it work, right?
Yeah, and also maybe also the reaction when it doesn't work. You know, how do you deal with this? And I think if you've gone through those elements in working life before or in relationship before, then this is helpful. So it was a very nice ping pong with all of these people, and we did that together.
Yes, it was a working relationship based on friendship and trust, and it made everything more fun. We wanted to have fun as well, of course, doing this project together. It was not just, it was definitely, it was not getting rich, and it was not fame or whatever. It was we want to do something that makes sense, and we want to have fun doing it. And like you said before, yes, we did not spend so much time sleeping and going out with friends, but we worked with them. So we had very close contact with a lot of people anyhow.
Yeah, and I think everyone in this team everyone wanted to change something, right? And we felt something is changing. We want to drive this together. This was great. And maybe to come back to your question about scaling and financing. So financing that we had in team, but I think what we did not realize is scaling industry is not easy. I think this the whole aspect of how to produce efficiently, how to set up processes, hygiene processes, all of this, and also the workers then becoming an industrial company. Like we have a lot of workers. The HR topic is big in a vertical company, right? Because you have a big headcount. And we were not ready for this because we all come from product, like Hanna architecture and me product design, and this was really exciting.
How do you manage this learning curve? Because of course you can just learn by doing and making mistakes, but did you also get any outside help or ask people for advice who could really help you with that specific growth and scale challenge?
Not as much as we should have, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah. But we did get help. Certain things we couldn't overcome. When we tried and when we couldn't overcome it, we got help. But I think we also learned this stubbornness was really good, because we also learned how it works, like which type of machine, how to design, because you don't only design in an industrial company, you don't only design the product, you need to design the process, how to produce the product. And if you don't know how that works, you don't know which machine to buy. So if we would have had those X amount of millions, we would have bought the wrong machines. And now we understand the whole process to start to finish. So when we design a product, we also design the production process and which tank or which type of products and how to fill it. And so it's a very holistic thing. And I would not have known how to do this if I wouldn't have thrown myself full in cold water.
But I think this is such a great learning, not only for like a production company, but for all companies and startups out there, to not only think about the product that you want to build, but also the whole process behind it. Like if you're a software company, think about how many engineers and what type of engineers do you need to actually be able to ship the product and to create it. And I think sometimes that thought just gets lost along the way, especially if you take on too much funding.
Yes. And you probably don't know the answer until you try. You can try to theoretically figure it out, but probably you don't know it until you try. So I think some kind of, like what we did was probably then beta testing, right? In this sense. Right. Yeah.
I like that. One more thing you mentioned before, there are many people who are dirty in Switzerland in terms of they need soap, they need to use your product. But at the same time, Switzerland still is quite a fairly small market. So you managed to grow, to scale up your production. Now, is that something that you would like to scale even beyond Switzerland, or is that a large enough market and a large enough country for you?
We are outside of Switzerland already, so definitely. But we try to focus on certain areas to begin with, because we have noticed even with other cities, if you don't give it your focus, it's not going to work. So you have to take care of the market that you enter. And at the moment, this is mainly Germany and France. We still have a few other smaller balls rolling at the same time. Also, the USA is a market where we have entered, but Switzerland is big, and we have not covered all of Switzerland. We definitely have a lot of territory still to reach, but we're not stopping at the Swiss border.
When you go to another country like Germany or France, for example, how do you manage the distribution there? Do you do that yourself, or do you work with partners, or how does that work?
It's a mix of things. Overseas, then you need a distributor. I mean, if you work with food or cosmetics, you like storaging and you need to be quite fast in delivering. So we have a distributor over there, and in Europe we work with agents. No. I think it's because we want quality in the market, and I think it's also very important as to sell a product is quite easy, but to sell the product again or to sell the product from the shelf of a store is a different thing. I mean, it's the sellout, and if you're not known, it's very difficult. So I think it's and this is something I learned from the past as well. If you go too fast and push products into a market where people do not know your product, you will have a problem. And if the retailer don't sell your product, he will call you and say, I don't want to order again because I don't sell it. So you can't go too fast. And I was lucky to experience this in previous businesses, also with FREITAG, for example. So it's not good to go too fast. You need to if you build a consumer brand, you need to go slow, and you need to build the brand. And when the brand is ready, you can sell the product. But if you sell it in advance, it can go wrong. And you can also burn down a market.
Right.
Which is dangerous, yeah.
You seem to make very conscious decisions, like not growing too fast, being very conscious about your ingredients and the way that you operate. How do you make decisions when you have a topic to discuss? Is there any framework or discussion, or how does that work? Like, when you make decisions, do you just drive on your way home and you have a conversation, or how does it work?
Now you see our faces like, oh my God, now it's getting difficult. Now, honestly, it's for me, it's so much based in our convictions and our philosophy of life that it's usually quite clear what the answer is. Not we don't have the answer to everything, but in what direction we're gonna solve a problem. And then we, depending on what topic it is, we use our network, we ask friends, we get input from outside to make wise decisions. It's because we're definitely not experts at everything, and we were not experts at sustainability in the beginning. We were not experts at making soap, but you can learn to make good choices and to also realize when things are not going the way they should be going. You have to make a change to not be scared of these things.
And I think what we have in common is we have a common goal. So it's generally quite easy to answer the question. I think for us, when we have a decision coming, because we have this joint goal and this is on a telepathic level, it's clear. What's not always clear is the road to the goal, maybe, that we need to discuss sometimes. But this is very, very easy for us, I think. And that's made us quite fast and in the beginning taking decisions, moving every day to have this.
What is that goal that you're referring to?
Well,
if you're open to share.
Well, it changes day to day. It was to make a good product. Right? Now it's to make...
Check, you did that.
Right? And now we're trying to make a better product.
Yeah.
Or similar maybe impacts in a similar field, maybe a new category.
Yes, and what I also... The topic of how we want to work and what standards we want to live by, that is a measurement that we don't have to discuss ever. We know where we stand. So that makes a lot of things easy to decide. But of course, then the road to this, to living this life is not always exactly the same. I mean, it could be making lotion with a Japanese scent, or it could be making lotion with a more Korean scent. I don't know, but it's not. That's not what drives us so much. So it's the base of the philosophy where we need to make a decision. But there we don't have an issue of needing to figure out what this is every day.
Absolutely.
And we compensate each other really well. So since we have the common goal, then normally when we have the goal in front of us, then I do one part of it and Hanna does the other part. So it's quite easy.
It's something that always comes up in the interviews. It's like you're very much aligned on your shared values, that you share the same values, but then bring a complementary skill set to the table to actually get close and put them into practice. And I think that's the perfect team setup.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, you're almost coming up at the 10-year anniversary, right, with Soeder. So if you look back to the past decade, so to speak, what are some of the most beautiful memories? Maybe you have like one memory that you can share each.
Well, many memories, right? I think the people, like all the people, I mean, we are not doing the stuff ourselves, right? If it sounded like that, that's wrong. We have good people who works with us and who has done so many great things, who's brought us to where we are today. And I think all of these moments with these people we shared when we had successes, this is what I remember, and the emotional connection, not only the visual memory, right? The emotional connection with all of these people. I think so we are grateful for this. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, I mean the team is really. It has been a few people who have been with us for years, and others who came and went. But it's always been interesting connections, and you have almost always felt that there is something more than just someone coming to work. Yeah. And many people also tell us this, that they feel connected to the company, and this makes. I mean, this makes it worth continuing. Also.
Beautiful feedback, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which we can also give back to these people that work with us. That it makes us also want to work more because we have good connections and get inspired by the daily business. But then I also have the first day when we opened the store, that was also quite amazing experience. Back then we were not that many working with it day to day, and we had these 10 partners. Today we're about 20 partners, a bit above, but back then we had these 10 partners, and we had sent out a few invitations and things, but we were just opening a store, and it was such an amazing day. Like we had the whole Soeder life ahead of us, and it was just we had worked super hard for 9 months.
And everyone helped them painting
and we had
fixing the floor. And
yes, it was that time, the short time ahead of this opening event, and then the opening event when we just tore down the paper in front of the windows, and that was
and
hard to beat.
Yeah, and the first factory is also great. It's more like a Breaking Bad kind of setting. we might have some pictures to share. This was also, looking back at that now, it was also quite wild.
I can imagine.
And fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had to go in the middle of the night and Sunday night to check if the soap was not heating up too much and things. And yeah, it was.
Yeah, the beautiful stories of building something with a truly great team. One thing I'm also interested to learn more about is Soeder. You know, it's a well-known brand here in Switzerland now. Like, a lot of people know it, a lot of people use it. Where does the name actually come from? What does it mean?
It is the short name for area in Stockholm, Södermalm. But the name was actually, we put it on paper way before we realized what it was going to be. Mm-hmm. So we have had this as like kind of a working title for a lot of just brain ideas.
And it's a perfect typographic joint between German and Swedish, which I think it's by adding the OE, which you would never do in Swedish, it becomes very Germanic, like in German. Mm-hmm. So I think it's also a perfect mix between the two things, and also it's our heritage as well, right?
Just wanted to say it perfectly describes your journey as well, right?
Yeah, we spent as much time in Switzerland as in Sweden. Yeah.
So, yes, lifespan wise, exactly.
Yeah.
It's easy to write.
It looks good.
Absolutely.
But long story short, it has no real meaning.
But there's an emotional story behind it.
It's an emotional story.
Obviously.
It was our project title, right?
Yeah.
And
yes.
I like that.
The working title that got stuck.
And now with that strong brand, the 10-year anniversary coming up, of course, we're also excited to learn more about your future plans. I think you have some things planned. Can you reveal one or two things, what we can expect from you in the future?
Yeah, we have one big thing planned, which we probably haven't officially communicated yet. So maybe this is a premiere.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so we're building a larger factory. We got this great opportunity from SBB to get a plot then in the city, quite central in Altstetten, and we have this really beautiful place there. It's all the repair halls for the trains, and we are now actually in the construction, like the basic construction is now taking place. It's a protected building, culture protected building, and we are now doing the first steps, and Hanna should talk more about this because she is the architect.
Yes, I spent all weekend drawing plans. Yes, so we want this place to be a connection for our company, but also a connection towards our customers. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be let's call it fully transparent production place. You will always be able to look in through the window and see us at work, but you will also be able to come in and visit. And also within the company, we're going to have a visible access to each other at all times, which is going to change the way we experience our working life and our product and our different areas, because we have so many different fields of work, since we're a vertical supplier, and we do all our communication and graphics and finance and everything in-house. So now it's going to be a very easy access to all departments, which I'm looking forward to.
I think things are only transparent when you actually see what's going on, right? And you can gladly walk in then, and we can show our olive oil, our coconut oil, and it says organic on the barrel. It is organic inside. We are using that barrel, right? So I think it's showing the people what we do and how we do it, and not hiding anything.
I'm really excited to see where this will end up, because you already lived these values, but now you make it even more transparent. You bring everything together in the same location. That's super exciting to see where that will end up, where that will bring you in what new levels that this will unlock. Super exciting future.
We will invite you to the opening party.
Oh, I'll be there.
With the rest of Zurich, of course.
Absolutely, I'll be there. Now, to wrap up the conversation, we have some rapid fire questions prepared for you. So I either give you different options to choose from or a simple question, and you have to answer in one sentence. You ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hanna, the first one is for you. Architect or entrepreneur?
I'm more an entrepreneur with a need for creativity.
Nice. Johan, Sweden or Switzerland?
Holiday in Sweden. It's getting too hot in Central Europe. Switzerland is the place I live.
And for you, Hanna?
Yes, it's Switzerland with a dash of Swedish holiday on top. Yeah.
What is your favorite Soeder product, Johan?
The grassroots soap.
Nice. Yours?
I also take the soap if I only have to choose one, and I would go for Hinoki Yuzu.
Nice. And what is your biggest ecological sin if you had to pick one?
We're a producer. I think if you're a producer, you make the biggest impact. It's not the end consumer. And knowing this to be a problem, right? Because everything you produce has an impact. Mm-hmm. And I think we know this, and every day we need to be critical and say, hey, can we do this better? And I think then as a producer, you have a huge responsibility because you have the biggest impact, and you need to be aware of that. I think finally industries are becoming aware of this. It's not only the regulations, which it used to be, who limits the CO2, for example. It's actually also now important for a lot of industries to be responsible and take own initiative. I think this is great, and I think that's definitely our biggest CO2 impact is that we are running a company, and then we need to work on reducing.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, that's also a huge asset, right? Because then you can really have an impact beyond just the average household size.
Of course, and we also the ones who needs to take responsibility in society. It's definitely like this.
That's a wrap for today.
Hey, thank
you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming on the show.
you.
Hanna, Johan, all the best, lots of success, and it's just
Same
amazing. We're big fans of
you.
your products, and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
We're super
We're
excited
fans
to
of you as
follow.
well. I think it's great you give the Swiss industry and companies a possibility to give advices to each other. It's also great, to listen to others. Hope we gave some advices. We are getting some advices from your other visitors. It's great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and
Thank
all
you.
the best.
Thanks.
Thank
Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.